So, hello to everyone watching. I'm Joshua from the content team at Spoken. For those discovering us for the first time, Spoken is the place where writers easily self publish, socialize, and monetize an audio version of their work using AI. At the same time, Spoken provides a new kind of network for readers to discover, stream, and support the writers they love. So, first off, a huge congratulations, Adrian. Your story, The Elegant Art of Haunting and Horticulture, won third place in the Elegant Literature Crossroads and Consequence contest in collaboration with Spoken. Very well-deserved recognition, by the way.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you for the opportunity. It was a great contest, and your platform, has done a wonderful job at organizing that contest. It was a great experience for me. So, just as a quick word, I'm an amateur writer. This is actually the first fiction writing that I ever completed. My background is in the creative arts. I work as a graphic designer and brand manager in communication and branding agencies. Currently, I'm working in a corporate environment. So, kind of storytelling was always part of my job, but a kind of a different way of storytelling, like a visual storytelling or building presentations. But at the end of the day, is it's funny because I found that there's a lot of correlation between kind of like something more commercial or building up a story for a pitch or a presentation or trying to sell a product to it correlates a lot with fiction writing and the way you're building a story in a fiction environment, if I can say that. So that's kind of my background. I was always interested in the way stories work and the power that they have. I think we live in a world that needs stories more than ever. So, I kind of felt like it was the right time to take the plunge and just, try to find ways to share my work. And this contest was the perfect opportunity.
Well, I was surprised to hear that because you write like a pro, like you've been doing it your whole life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean that, and it's a fantastic story, and you've got a great sense of humor, by the way. Uh, really, really came off nicely there. So, um, winning this competition, I think it's an amazing thing. It was a great collaboration with Elegant Literature. How did it feel to see your work recognized in that way?
Oh, I mean, it's for me, and I think this applies to a lot of aspiring writers or artists in general. Just the fact that your work lives outside your notebook or your, I don't know, computer or your typewriter, whatever you're using, just to have your work out there and living in an environment in which people can read it, can interact with it, can provide feedback. It's just an amazing accomplishment in itself, or at least that's the way I see it. Because um, even if I'm extremely happy that I won third place and an honorary mention, don't get me wrong, but for me, just having a final story that is completed that people read, for me that's a win already. So I think that having these opportunities just push us a little bit over that edge of self-doubt, and there's always this kind of doubt in your mind, especially when you're starting out, like myself, that I think it's good, I like it, I enjoy writing it, but you're kind of thinking, oh, I'll probably get shut down, or there's a lot of self-doubt. So these platforms and these opportunities that you are providing are extremely helpful, and it's I couldn't be grateful for.
Yeah, you're so right. When you start out in any art form, it's a scary thing. It's liberating as well to just take control of your work and get your voice out there. But there's always the fear or the concern of well, A, rejection, B, who's going to hear it? It feels so much sometimes like a void. You throw it out into the world and you're not sure if anyone sees it. So we're very keen on making sure that the authors who come on Spoken get heard, get seen, and create an environment where a new author and a veteran author can coexist on the same playlist and get the same attention and meet each other and cooperate, collaborate. So it's really great to hear that came off that way.
I felt it by I had like I think yourself reviewed it and one of your colleagues reviewed it. So it was not like you are posting in a in ether and then you're just waiting for something. It's just to have your team, which I think you listen to hundreds and thousands of stories, just to have someone with your experience put time and read it and listen to it and provide feedback is already like such a value add for any writer, like you said, not only an aspiring or a beginner one. I think it's a great thing for anyone who's looking to get feedback on their work and see what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely, and that is the goal as well. Anyone watching this, I recommend they can and should go discover the elegant art of haunting and horticulture, which is now streaming on Spoken. Here's a quick synopsis. Lord Hablo Braithwaite, the spectral custodian of Everleigh Botanical Gardens, refuses to let death, or his odious heirs, doom his life's work. When a visitor proves uniquely perceptive, an opportunity arises. A will must be rewritten, a fortune secured. That synopsis there was achieved or attained through the Spoken story analysis, an analysis that's given once the story has been uploaded. And of course, you can change that summary or that synopsis, but would you say that that's a fairly accurate pitch for the story?
It was 90% there. I just changed a couple of words. It was perfect. I was amazed, to be honest, because that's another part that I wasn't experienced in as a new author. So, writing the piece was just the beginning, right? So just having these tools that kind of guide you, for me, it was amazing to see that synopsis written so well. Like I said, it was 90% there. I just changed a couple of words that I liked better, and it was perfect, good to go.
Yes. Well, one of the most striking things about this audiobook is how immersive and intimate it feels. So the first person perspective and single narrator format, and the way that you chose to write it make it feel, to me at least, as an experimental narrative or a role playing experience. Was that always your intention in writing it, or did it sort of manifest that way?
Um, to be honest, it kind of manifested that way. But then, as the kind of the story evolved, I just thought that this would be like the perfect fit for the contest, and I decided to go 100% in that direction. My process is kind of messy, so I always start out with dialogue and a scene. Any story that I build starts off with a fragmented scene that maybe doesn't make sense at that time, just like a snapshot of something. And in this case, it was the ghost of the owner of the gardens that just was telling somebody that he died by being hit in the head by a horse, which was a thoroughbred, of course. And for me, that line, it was I was looking for something. I always look for humor in everything, and for me, that was just kind of like there's something here. And then I just saw that just because of the theme of the contest and because there was this opportunity to use your platform, I thought that this is the perfect way to go. That's why I chose like the monologue direction, just um, the ghost kind of walking us through, and the reader is becoming part of the story.
It played so well into the audio format, so well, so much so that I, messaged you saying like, you got to get more of these on the platform as a series because they're so fun. I can really see somebody getting lost in a story of great length in that style, or conversely, just episode by episode, new scenarios. It's really fun. It's well written. It's got the twist, which of course you'll have to experience if you're listening, and it all plays out very well. And each of those elements were really strong factors in our decision to have your story be made a winner. So again, just really well done. And I guess I would want to ask you next, um, how did you find working in the spoken studio itself? Questions like, did you find the studio intuitive when you were creating the story? And how was the voice selection process? How did that all work out for you?
So it was extremely easy. To be honest, I think, kind of like writers or um, creative art, kind of like creatives are not necessarily tech savvy. Uh, so that was kind of like I hope it's gonna be pretty straightforward. And I have to say, like, it was extremely easy by just following the tutorial. Right, when you go on the platform, you have a guide. Here are the steps, and it was so easy. I mean, I just copy pasted everything. You copy and paste your story in there, and then you have a nice word for the platform to kind of take in your input, and then providing analyzing it, and then you're already ready to go and try to find a voice that matches what your story is. And I was expecting, to be honest, far less diversity in the options that I had. And even though I already knew that I was looking for a British voice, it was so fun. I tried, like, I think 12 voices just to hear it in a different tone with different subtleties, and it was so fun and so easy. Obviously, the more time you put into um, polishing it, it's not going to be 100% out of the box solution, perfect, ready to go. But in my case, it was, I would say, 95% done. Um, it's the language and the human voice, and that there are just so many subtleties that are so hard to match. And I think Spoken has done a tremendous job in identifying those little accents that were surprising almost to me, because they just felt natural and I almost didn't notice them. um right at the end, there's a passage there that it just um flows so well, and I was worried about getting kind of like the little subtleties, but I think it took like two tries. All I had to do was just use a different sentence structure. So instead of having two separate sentences, I just hit backspace, the sentence moved right after the other one, and it just flow so well. And these are this is just an example, but there were others in the story that were actually surprising to me, how good they were. And it's extremely empowering just to have that tool to you have a character in your head that you kind of think how it should sound, and then actually hearing it, and in my case, at least, it was spot on. And just the experience of having so many voices, it was extremely fun. And for me, that's extremely important, because I think writing should be fun, should be exciting, should be a pleasure to do, not necessarily a chore. So it it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I think I tried 10 or 12 voices, even though I think my third pick, it was just there. And I also tried the custom voice, uh,
Yep.
and that works very well. Obviously, my prompts were not great because you got to put in a bit of effort and experiment a little bit to see what the results are. But it was almost there. I think with another hour of experimenting and trying out things, I think I could have created a custom one as easy. But the one that was already there, it was perfect. It was
Mhm.
just so easy to use.
Mhm. Yeah, that's just it, is sometimes the custom voice feature, I love it, and I love experimenting with it as well, but sometimes those voice actors or those voices that we have in the library really do get the job done, and the voice that you selected, I haven't heard as often. It's not typically selected, at least in the stories we have on our platform, so it was really refreshing, and it just, nailed the performance for this story,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. The writing process should really be fun. It should be a creative act, and if the studio can help that, and feel like that, I think that's a really good benefit to the authors and to the writers. Um, is there anything like if are there any features, I guess I would say, that you feel would be of benefit to have in the studio that you felt like, huh, in this moment, I wish I could do this, or it would be nice to be able to change this?
Honestly, for me, the simplicity of it at this moment works perfectly. So I think, the options are there. Obviously, I think, with time, more voices are going to be used. You're going to have more options. You can create your own voices by just putting it a bit of time and effort to see how that works and experiment a little bit with it. So for me, the only thing that I would say that probably would be useful would be some sort of an undo function when you are, generating your updates in the text. Because sometimes you maybe want to try a different way of structuring the sentence so it sounds a bit different, but then you realize that I think it was better before. So it's kind of hard to get back to the original one. Although I wouldn't say hard. Hard is kind of a harsh word, but just to kind of go back to the original previous version that you had. Obviously, there's a workaround, so you can create multiple versions. So it's not a problem. You can create different copies. And I think this is another point that for me, I see the platform as being extremely useful. Is not only in publishing, like the final product when you are actually working on your story. A good practice is to read your dialogue that you write out loud to see if it has the right cadence, if you have the right, you know, if it sounds natural. And I see using this tool as a work in progress also when you are creating your story and you're writing your dialogue, for example. It's so easy to just test it out with different voices and different voice actors and different intonations and different subtleties that maybe you didn't even think about. So beyond the um, great aspect of having like your polished work published, it's also for me, I see it as a great tool for your work in progress also, and to test things while you're creating, and then you can enhance your final piece. So it's just great.
Yeah, that's an excellent observation, having it as that sort of proofing tool, and it'll change the way I think writers approach their works in the future as we're moving into an era of more people listening as opposed to reading in the traditional sense. So I think that's really interesting, um, and then that would beg the question: do you yourself, as a as someone entering this field as you are now, do you see yourself using spoken as a place where you're in on the ground floor? You would use it as a place to sort of build up your works and build a listener following?
Absolutely. I think it opens up a whole new audience, um, because the kind of like the writing, the audiobook kind of mediums can be daunting. It's kind of like a you don't know exactly how you can do it, what's the process. You don't have the resources to work with professional voice actors, or you don't have recording equipment. It's usually a writer wants to be a writer, um, and I think this is a wonderful tool to just open up a lot more audiences that otherwise would be probably inaccessible to you as an author. So I 100% want to continue to publish on spoken. I think it's more than a tool. It's like you said. I think it's the tool itself is just half of the story. You have access to other stories. You can see what other people create. You can get feedback from professionals, and I think that's another value point that just makes spoken extremely important.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Really appreciate that. And again, so excited to have you join our platform and the community. And here we are celebrating your win. Congratulations again. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrapped up today?
I would say, just for anyone that's kind of like thinking about sharing their work or using spoken, or just sharing their work, I would say just stop thinking about it. Do it. Take a risk. It's so rewarding to see your work living outside of your mind and outside of your notebook, and to have people read it, listen to it, and it's so satisfying. And just take that step, and I'm sure opportunities will come out of it. And yeah, if there's something that I would encourage anyone to do, is just try new things. Don't be afraid to experiment, and try new ways of writing, or new ways of sharing your work, like in different formats, because it's gonna be a great experience. At least for me it was, and I'll continue to do it. So thank you.
First of all, Adrian, thank you so much for your time. And again, for those watching, check out www.spoken.press. You can look for Adrian's story there alongside the other elegant literature entries and winners. Find us on social media, and you can always connect with us directly in our discussions on Reddit and Discord. So thank you so much for watching.